Welcome back to another episode of the Data Reliability Experience. I'm your host, Christina Nian, and today we're diving into one of the most exciting and fast-evolving areas in data, the rise of autonomous AI agents and what they mean for data reliability, trust, and enterprise decision-making. I'm really excited today. It's conversation because we're joined by two incredible leaders shaping this space. Joining us is Uday Hegde, co-founder and CEO of UserReady, a seasoned entrepreneur, technology leader with over 20 years of experience, data-driven digital transformation and enterprise analytics. Uday has built his career helping global organizations turn complex data into meaningful business outcomes. Through his leadership, UserReady partners with enterprises leveraging advanced business intelligence and agentic AI to drive smarter decisions and measurable impact. Also, we're joined by Sandesh, CEO of iceDQ, who brings deep expertise in data reliability and enterprising data trust. Together, they'll be sharing perspectives on how organizations can strengthen data foundations while accelerating AI-driven innovation. We're excited to have Uday and Sandesh share their insights with us today. Now, Uday, before we dive into today's topic, I'd love to learn more about you personally, about your journey, what brought you here today, and how it inspired you to start UserReady.
Well, thank you very much, Christina, for having me. And I'm excited to share my journey and UserReady journey. In a way, they kind of come together, which is what happened. Before founding UserReady, I was working in Wall Street for one of the largest banks. And then that's where the idea for UserReady clicked for me. The name UserReady, the user in this case is the proverbial citizen data scientist. So it was my experience seeing frustrated non-IT personnel, and as part of my own journey, having a technology background, having built applications and systems, and having an engineering degree, I was always thinking about solving things leveraging technology. What I realized is that we tend to forget the ultimate user of the technology that we build. Why not build a company that focuses on that person, that is user, and enable them to triangle data on a daily basis that they have to make decisions on. So that was the name UserReady.
I love that. Thank
Making
you for
sure
sharing
data
with us.
is ready for the users. So when you say user, you mean actually the business user, if I'm correct, right?
That's true. So from a journey perspective, when we founded, it was 2011, right? So that was the time when I think this explosion of data democratization started heavily. Up until then, we had these technologies like data platforms, whatnots, big data was there, cloud was already there. However, they were not really put together for a user to be able to consume data, make decisions. And there was an emergence, this trend of self-service, and they were usually trying to self-service data to make daily decisions. In my specific case, I was part of the market risk team, and we were responsible for making decisions on behalf of the bank to really produce a lot of analytical content to support our executives about where are we investing, and are we really adhering to our guidelines? Are we really taking risks that we are not supposed to? And however the market is moving, how is this risk fluctuating on a daily basis? It was really a life of a lot of data complexity married with what is known as prescriptive or predictive statistics, everything that has emerged into AI today. Basically, we were that 1.0 of that AI journey, I think.
Okay. Thank you so much. And, I love a simple name that is very high impact for sure. And of course, if you want to learn more about Sandesh, definitely check out episode 1 of the Data Reliability Experience. We dive deep into the CEO's founding journey for iceDQ. Now, with that said, let's transition over to the real conversation bits here. This AI agents and how they're changing organizations and what they think about data in real time. As you can imagine, you mentioned earlier in 2011, the term data was much more different than the words that we use now. So with that, Uday, autonomous AI agents are becoming a huge part of of how organizations manage and act on data. From your perspective, how are these agents transforming data quality and reliability? And where do you see that balance between human oversight and agent autonomy?
That's a very good loaded question. Thank you. Interestingly, if you look at this place we are in, what is called or becoming popular as AI agents, it's not new actually. It started in 1950s with a Turing paper, and where Professor A.M. Turing asked, "Can machines think?" So what we are seeing in the last 3 years with OpenAI coming into the market is that possibility, right? That started with early days of problem solving, pattern matching, trying to predict. All that was already there. But this step in our current moment is the leveraging neural networks. We were able to start machines generate thoughts, insights, whatever you want, even cat memes, to really deliver that productionizing ability for the machines, right? Once you are having that potential, when you look at this, we were asking what is fun in that. Like, there's no point in generating more cat memes with this expensive. I mean, there's a value of expensive proposition there, and the real unlocking of that value happens when machines can actually perform. And what is AI agent is really a machine that can perform to the duties of an enterprise or of any task, basically, right? If the task is very complex, you may have to string these agents to come together to collaborate as a team. If the task is very simple, probably a single agent can actually, perform. But the ultimate holy grail, sometimes people think about is AGI, but currently, if machines can perform tasks, complex or simple, being able to work together, perform, that's the power that we see will unlock a lot of energy and also, of course, potential of the computing. So I think you asked, how do these agents now, what is the role of data quality? And imagine we have, so to speak, outsourced our job, the jobs rather humans usually performed, tasks to a machine. Now, something that is very interesting about humans, we all know, is the ability, the cognitive power. The cognitive power means we are able to apply discretion on any information at any point in time, and we are very good at it. How do we make the machines to be equally good at it? We know that machines are making those decisions based on information or data that is fed into them, right? What is also interesting is we are really using something as a probabilistic model to make the machines perform tasks that need precision. You see the sort of contradiction there? Unless they can be deterministic, there is no real outcome. If I ask a machine what's in my bank balance, and if it says probably you have $100, that's not going to work. There are situations where machines have to really give a precise answer how to get there. So the role of data quality is the most paramount aspect of the success of these machines, or thinking machines, really, right? So there's a lot we can talk about it, but I think that kind of sets the premise of the problem we are dealing with here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a very interesting point you got, Uday, is right. I think the quality comes into picture when you want to make the AI or agents or LLMs, what do you want to call them, more deterministic, right? Otherwise, it's just like a vague, you can get the report, get the analytics, but you can never trust it, right?
No chance. And also, we actually, when I'm sort of switching a little bit to UserReady's context and explain to you, this is exactly what we were thinking when we saw the first version of generative. And we were asking ourselves, what is the principle on which every company, anyone who's going to use AI to decision making should work with? Going back to our users, to us, it hinged on three aspects, which is what we call ART. ART is an acronym actually. A for accuracy, R for responsibility, T for trustworthiness.
Interesting. That's really good.
So unless we actually master the art of AI, it's not going to be useful. I mean, there are thousands of use cases that have failed. We all have read the MIT report about 95% of the projects don't go production. All that is actually hinged on one aspect, that they have not followed the art principle. Really. So T for trustworthiness is everything for us. So
Absolutely.
Uday, if you look at this, see, when I'm looking inside iceDQ, right, we are in the data reliability space and all that. But what I found very interesting is there are two ways to look at this. Like what we can build for the customer or the business users, like, in your case, like what analytics you provide using AI and all that, right? Then there is a second part. What do you use in your engineering to make sure that the output, the result that you're getting is good, right? So if you can share from your experience, right, I'll say split into two parts, right? One part is taking AI and agents and fixing the data pipeline or data engineering side, right? Then can you share on that side? And then the second part is, once the data is ready, what are you doing? What UserReady has done in terms of using AI to give analytics or reports? And if you can throw some examples, that will be interesting. So I would like to split into like two components.
Yes, totally valid. So once we established the principle of art, we said let's unpack it. What does it A mean to us? How does it? What does it really? How do we get there? A for accuracy is really hinged on the engineering aspect of what Sandesh was saying, right? So I still love the check engine analogy you have brought in. That was, I think, genius of you. I use it a lot actually in my own discussions with customers. So basically, A for accuracy is attained by using algorithms that is already at our disposal, which has been around for many, many years, with an objective. So what happens is we always encourage our customers to say, establish your accuracy objective. What is that? Are you okay to make this decision with 70% accuracy? In any business circumstance, it's not. But the reality is most LLMs cannot deliver more than that. So they struggle because they're probabilistic model, right? They have to hallucinate no matter what. So by applying algorithms on top of a probabilistic model, you are able to start generating accuracy level of 95%. If I'm a customer of any department, think about I'm a procurement person trying to do contract intelligence. If whatever the machine is saying is not 95% accurate, it's useless, actually, right? So we encourage them to don't even go there. So we have seen some of our customers trying to attempt with Copilot, a cool tool. They pumped all their contract data into Copilot, and it started doing what it's good at, hallucination and everything else. The accuracy levels were not there, and they thought the product is not good. But what they did not understand, the principle of accuracy was missing. We actually got in the action. We delivered. We showed them how to get to that 95% by applying the core computing principles of engineering at that point. So when you married like that, right, a LLM like platform married with proper engineering principle, we can certainly attain that. That's my answer to your A part of it, the accuracy part of it.
Yeah.
At UserReady, we have made that our principle in every project. Establish the objective of accuracy. On the other side, I think you're talking about the trustworthiness, right? The aspect of trustworthiness and the R, which is the responsibility. So R is responsibility for us as the governance, the guardrails that is paramount. And there are a lot of good principles there. Like for example, if agent is not able to explain the math or it's not recording every step along the way, something that machines are very good at is actually explainability if implemented correctly. In fact, I
Yeah.
would argue that humans are actually not very good at explaining every step.
Yeah, we
So
go on intuitions, right?
exactly, leverage that, right? So put the right guardrails, make sure it's bias filtered, responsibility governance, properly governance is established. So the analogy we use all the time about this is automobiles. Okay, every agent, the way we think about is like a vehicle. If we do not have proper roads or the signals, all sort of rules around traffic management, can the cars drive on their own? No, you will not be able to go anywhere. So even though car is perfectly working, it cannot go anywhere unless you have that infrastructure in place. And that's where the governance and trustworthiness comes. If I show a map, I mean, even Google Map has failed occasionally where people have driven in an off road and they lost. So with AI agents, it's guaranteed to happen. It's not an if, it's a matter of when. So it's not an afterthought for us. The trustworthiness and responsibility have to go hand in hand with the engineering. Hence, we promote that as a principle to start with. Does that
uh,
resonate with you?
Yes, it's very interesting. And Krishna, you can go ahead with your question, but I just want to give one example from what I got from one of our healthcare customer, right? So I asked him like, why did you choose our product, right? Or in general, like, so he gave me a very simple example. He said, look, and this goes back to your trust, reliability, and accuracy. He said, I have patient data. In patient data, maybe if you are a manufacturing company, you can say, hey, out of 10 products, one product has an issue. In patient data, if one record has issue where it's supposed to be, for example, common cold, and I put a ICD code for tuberculosis,
Hmm.
right? The consequence of this data points is like unimaginable, from the
Yes.
lawsuits to forget the money part and legal and other thing, but then there is the somebody's life is at risk because of this issue, right? And that example, the inspiration that we took from there was, hey, it is not the net, you can have a high level view and everything, but at the end of the day you need to audit, each and every element to make sure you can rely on it. That's going back to your R.
Yes, absolutely. You nailed it. That's a very good example, by the way. We have seen that in real action. So
Yeah.
And with that, you guys have covered a lot already, some of these questions and examples. And you had my attention, Uday, at cat memes and Copilot writing contracts, because I will admit I do the same. And now that I know it's hallucinating, that explains a lot of some of the data I have to make sure it understands. And now with that, as organizations start giving AI more responsibility, as Sandesh mentioned, uh, let's take it one step further, because AI isn't just about changing those processes, right? It's changing the risks and expectation around data itself. Now, you've built UserReady on the principle of turning data into competitive advantage. What does data trustworthiness really mean now in 2026 versus 1950s versus 2011? And how does that definition evolve with this heavy emergence of LLMs and AI agents?
what has changed significantly for us is historically, for a very long time, we made decisions based on data that was in a database or a structured format put together by humans. Not that we had mastered it, just that it was a problem. It was that's how we operated, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the context that how technologically the neural networks and the generative works is exactly the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the traditional machine learning worked to an extent with prediction and everything because it was like a highly trained, specialized machine. But the moment you went the opposite direction, which is what is needed, for generative to be successful,
Mm-hmm.
you're no longer operating in the realm of structured world. In fact, I would say that's maybe a 10% of the decision making realm of the data.
Mm-hmm.
Un- Unstructured data was not even a consideration for testing, let alone any worthiness there or anything. So we were really dealing with almost like a technological poison, if you will, trying to incorporate that into quickly in our decision making. You don't even know what you drank. It looks brown. I can trust it, but I don't know if it is really a alcohol or a poison, right?
Mm.
So in so many examples, we have seen this again and again. The context aware is extremely important for to be able to first understand. Is it what? Secondly, I'm explain, right? At every step, continuous validation, not a point in time. When we think about confidence in data, right? It's not a binary trust model. It's
Mm.
probabilistic confidence, right? So unless we carefully put a mechanism, I mean, I think that's why product like iceDQ have a huge role to play here,
Mm-hmm.
is that ability to really help companies adopt AI better. It has to begin with a clear understanding of how, what is the context here? Do we
Mm-hmm.
have the explainability well articulated so that the human that is eventually, I mean, fact finding or discovering what happened has the ability to quickly determine what went wrong. I hope that gives you the context. It's a very different landscape altogether than we have seen before.
If I can summarize,
Yeah.
I think what you said is like there is a shift from structured to unstructured data, right? That's one point. That's a shift, right? And I think the volume also has changed. Like the number of the data volume, also the number of processes. And one of the very interesting word that you use is continuous validation, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of attracted my attention, right? Because my I'm a mechanical engineer, by the way, because as you're aware, right? So the I think one of the fundamental change that has happened over time because of the scale and volume that has grown, right, and the different formats of data that we have. I think the thing that is like where my interest is personal interest is like what you cannot just say, oh, I did yesterday or I'll do it tomorrow. You have to do it continuously from every time the data flows from A to B, B to C, and you have to have continued what you say is auditability, traceability, right? And there has to be like you have to submit proof that this is actually done. And I'll just stop with a simple example. What recently I have discovered, and I think you might have also Uday, is the this concept of I think the medallion architecture that has come into picture, right, with the bronze, silver, gold areas in of the data. I think it
Mm-hmm.
has become more and more important for people to make sure the whole supply chain of data is actually
Mm-hmm.
running the way it should, right? And it's auditable, it's reliable, it's traceable, and all those things.
100%.
Absolutely.
Continuous validation is the game now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Now, one
I think
challenge we
that is a big
hear.
change I'm seeing from my point also. And hopefully
Absolutely.
that is a good for us.
Now, one challenge we hear about constantly, one challenge we hear constantly from organizations is what they call the last mile problem, actually getting trusted data into decision-making moments. How can autonomous agents help solve that last mile challenge? And where do organizations need to be cautious, especially as AI systems continue learning and evolving over time?
So, first of all, as we previously established, continuous validation is very important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that is in place, then we are now talking about the last mile, right?
Mm-hmm.
The last mile is where the rubber meets the road in a way, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is flipping here is the reverse. I think in the last mile, we are going to have agents explaining to humans what happened. So when we technically speaking, every decision maker could be a banker, could be a healthcare professional, every professional
Mm-hmm.
going forward will see a shift in their working style or a working approach.
Mm-hmm.
When they wake up, I expect them to see all the tasks performed by agents, not one, many could be. And when they wake up, those agents will generate some sort of a report or a signal about what they have found, what they made decision on, and translate those QA signals into decision confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So that as a human, when I wake up, I can say yes. I experimented this actually. I let agent manage my inbox. Okay. I said I'm no longer going to look at my inbox.
Mm-hmm.
I'll only wake up and see my drafts. Agent would respond, create drafts for every email that I get. I would not read a single email. What I noticed is, again, my decision confidence is hinged on how much I have trained the agent about how I think and operate. And that is the part about the decision confidence I'm talking about. So translating that QA signals into decision confidence. So that when you flip the working model, that, I think we are embarking on too much automation. I think there's a risk to over automation without transparency. So that is very important. Autonomous operations is the game, yes, but
Mm-hmm.
visibility must exist at that point of decision every time we go there. So that would be my sort of summarization of how you think about last mile of data quality. You have to have continuous validation, but then understand those signals have the explainability and how did they get the decision to have that decision confidence.
Sandesh, any thoughts from your experience on that?
No, it's a very interesting. I think your example of you delegating the agents to look at your email and summarize it. I have not caught up on that, but I'm thinking about it, but didn't have the courage to do it yet. And that's I think, and tying it down to explainability, right? You can explain if the agent can explain why it has taken such a decision or a draft. That is very I think forward looking, but fundamentally how I think about this is I'm not there yet personally, but I don't know if you remember the 24th December, I think there was an interview by Nadella where he said SaaS companies are dead and the LLM or agents are going to take over, right? My fundamental thesis is I'm in agreement with him in some sort, but
Mm-hmm.
the my and your orientation until it changes and we start treating LLMs and agent as employees, right,
Mm-hmm.
and not as software where you have to operate on it, right? So that is where I think the world is going. And now, how do you see? One of the things that we are trying to incorporate in the iceDQ product is create, like we call it Sandy, the data reliability agent, where he will sit on the data, he will learn about the data, and he will. But as data is flowing through, he's getting himself more and more educated over time, right, as to what is happening. And that is the key, I think, in terms of having somebody continuously learn and then take decisions on your behalf, I think, and treating them as employees, not as software where I need to put operators on top of on the agent,
Mm-hmm.
sorry
Yeah,
Uday.
yeah, no, this is actually very insightful, and uh, as a regular civilian as I am, this is almost a little scary from decision making, just like checking emails. And Sandesh, I agree. I have not dived into the email summaries yet. I'm a little concerned I might miss something. And with that, I love this conversation because it is naturally leading us to thinking about how the future and how organizations should prepare, right? And just taking a little back on that. Now, before AI agents ever make autonomous decisions, everything depends on the quality of data that they're trained on. And you've shared many examples and perspectives of that. Now, from your experience, Uday and Sandesh, especially with iceDQ and UserReady, how should organizations think about validating and you know governing that data to ensure it's truly trustworthy? And what role do modern platforms like you play in strengthening that foundation?
See, fundamentally, our motto is quality is not an accident, right? number one. And because quality is not an accident, that means you have to engineer it. Quality has to be engineered. The example that we always take is you won't go. So there's a slight difference. Uday, I'll be very interested to hear your point of view. The way I see, again, from my mechanical engineering background, right? The way I see quality is a one-time thing. You check you open a box, everything looks good, and you packed it, right? So I can give you, let's say, I can give you a sword, right? And that is very sharp, right? And you hit somebody and it does its job. But then next time you try to use it, it breaks. Right. So obviously there is a difference between quality. It's a good quality sword, but it's not reliable. I cannot rely. I can't go to a war with that sword, right? Right. So there is a big, I think, the transition that I am trying to get fundamentally, and I would like to hear Uday, your experience, like how you guys are doing it, is this whole concept of one-time thing and hoping, I'll check something in the sky when I'm flying an aeroplane and see if the engine is working or not. It doesn't make sense, right? Because you have to engineer the engine and the aircraft so that it flies properly, right? So that is my thesis, that is my belief personally. And I just Uday, like, what do you think, like, from your point of view, like, is any projects that you have implemented, you have seen? I know you personally don't implement those things now, obviously, but have you seen like this shift, or like what have you like UserReady has done on that point of view?
Yeah, so you have hit on a lot of interesting points there. First of all, I still remain very hands-on because I just love the technology aspect of it, and I do get involved in many projects to improve myself, right? That being said, let me start with the first point you made, that is about the TQM and the JIT that became popular as Japanese automakers started implementing them in their production, right? So what is interesting here is this. Originally Ford also did the automation on the car making, right? So we took a century to go from that first Ford T to the Tesla, right, where self-driven or Waymo. We took a 10 decade to get from that original, like, early version of Tesla to where we are today, where it's completely self-driving. Meaning, in the original model, we had a luxury of time, and we took time to build, harness, quality, and every aspect of it. It feels like with AI, we are rushing a lot, which means when you're gaining speed, there are likely lapses in the process, right?
True.
So coming to quality specifically, I think there are few completely non-negotiable aspects here, because we are right now going directly into self-driving car model situation, right? And in which case, a very simple example, somebody can send, 5 self-driven cars to a dead-end road just to play prank, no problem. That kind of a situation exists in almost every. So we are also going to face a lot of risk, whether it is cyber security oriented, any sort of crimes. There is a lot of potential there to really harm, right, society. So covenants of this, every explaining the autonomy that we are giving to the machines, they have to be strictly be explaining every step. So we are actually monitoring them correctly. Another aspect is policies. We have to have very clear understanding of the governance, what we are going to do, what we are not going to do, driven by a clear organizational policies. And then for third also, which is very important, having the benchmark or some sort of scoring. If you don't meet this, just don't go. Right?
Okay.
So that's a business impact situation, because every business leader has to make their choice. If this machine or if this autonomous operation is not meeting this threshold, don't even apply. Those guardrails have to be built in. And I feel that's where the data reliability platforms have to go into, where you need a data reliability platform to really help organizations to get there. and making that part of that, continuous journey, continuous automation. So it's like not in one place, or not a one point solution or one point decision. It gets very complex when you go there, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the transition even for our platform has to be from a software platform to a complete agentic platform where it is telling you like, hey, I look at the train and there is some problem with the data. Don't process the payroll or don't pay this invoice because it's not reconciling with something else. I think this system has to train on the data because it has access to the data, right? That's the most beautiful
Yeah.
part of this. So it has to learn and not try to understand the data, but rather try to understand the qualitative aspect of the data, which is a totally different. Normally people want to look at the data, understand the data, what to do with the data, right? Decision. Here you are looking at a different point of view. Continuously watch the data and understand if it is breaking the pattern, if something is going wrong or it doesn't make sense. Like giving somebody discount of less than 5% or sorry, more than 100%. Right? That's not possible, right? Understanding that context is totally different from, oh, I have given him 5% discount, let me give him 10% discount, or let's send him an email. So I think so. Where I'm going with your point is the system has to break into two parts. One is, hey, what I can do with the data. Like there are some agents who are learning what I can do with the data, whatever data is there,
Mhm.
and there are other parallel agents who are saying, "Hey, I am your auditor, right? I'm looking at this data and something wrong here. So be sure before you take that decision, you don't mess up something, right? Have a look at it."
Mhm.
Sandesh, if I may, like
Yeah,
if imagine if I were to pitch iceDQ to a prospect, let's say hypothetically, right?
yeah,
My explanation will be very simple. You
uh-huh,
have every company has workers, human workers, employees, and you have HR department for human.
yeah,
So iceDQ is the HR for digital workers or agents.
Mm.
As simple as
interesting.
that.
Yeah,
Because if you have digital workers, which we are by the way encouraging heavily, we have launched a learning program called AI Accelerate, which is
hmm,
all no cost program. We invite everybody, all of our customers and their friends, family. We have taken on a mission to educate our community with a simple to understand programs like this, where build an agent, don't fear, or integrate them, orchestrate them, and learn how they function. So that in our vision, every corporate employee will
hmm,
build their co-workers, that is a digital worker,
yeah,
and manage them, and on a day-to-day basis run them as a team. So it's a human who's leading a team of digital workers. Who's the HR for digital workers? That is the data reliability platform.
that's very well said. Like, I'm gonna steal that from you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I made a note of that one, Sandesh. So you better steal that.
That's a
That
good
is
way to present it. Yeah. Um,
absolutely.
Kristen, anything else you have a question for Uday?
Yeah, just to kind of I'd love to end on a reflective note for both of you because we've uncovered a lot from cat memes to data, readiness and the digital worker. I love that analogy about HR and how iceDQ is the HR of digital workers, and I feel like there's more to come with that in future episodes. Now, with that said, to wrap this up, what's one misconception leaders still have about AI and data reliability that you wish would just disappear?
Hmm. Well, misconception that you're asking is about how people. I think, first of all, for many companies, they don't realize it's actually a cultural problem. I think
Yes,
that's the
very
big
interesting.
misconception. Why? Because they're still enamored with their existing processes, existing structure, existing hierarchy. Whereas when you go with this, you know, agentic or digital workers, your culture is holding you back. How many
Mm,
companies that you see have put on a corporate objective mandate that every a decision maker, so it's a senior vice president or a senior decision maker,
Mhm.
produces at least 5 agents for their department in the given year, otherwise they have no bonus. That is a bold step, right? And I've seen companies do it, by the way, and they actually went accelerated, I would say, because the awareness. So that's the second part, right? Once you make it an organizational mandate and a cultural thing, what happens is people will step up and start recognizing, why is my company doing this? What is
Mm-hmm.
their ultimate objective? And you will realize very quickly that we are actually trying to build better work-life integration with digital workers. I'll give many examples, but I'll take a simple example. A finance
Mm-hmm.
department, right, does invoice processing all the time, account payable team. Usually, good companies have already outsourced it to a BPO or have their own GCCs, whatever they have in India, and they have really optimized that cycle so well. But what they don't think about is, wait a minute, you know, regardless of this employee's family situation, I expect them to celebrate, I expect them to perform account invoice processing, whether it is Diwali in India or Christmas, any
Mm-hmm.
festival. We expect them because we are a public company. We need to produce our reports, and I have only 10 days in a month to
Mm-hmm.
get that out. I'm facing a serious deadline. You ask any finance officer, can they negotiate that? No. But here's the answer. With digital workers, you can save days out of your month-end closing cycle. To me, that's a better work-life integration,
Mm-hmm.
actually, right?
Yeah.
Rather than thinking I'm taking job away. No, you're not. You're actually helping. So encourage your account payable team to build their agents. Let them own it. Let them operate it. So instead of they, fearing or getting afraid of job loss, they're actually not going to embrace. So it starts with that
Mm-hmm.
awareness and culture are the two key barriers. I think that's a misconception in my mind. So
Uh,
Oh no,
I think
Sandesh.
well said. And just to close on that, I think this same culture we are trying to get into the engineering side, right? While we talk about how we can help the customers, sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
forget how we are helping ourselves with this agentic and other stuff, right? Yeah. Uh, Good point.
Absolutely.
Noted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that.
Uh,
I love that. I think we can that I don't know if you can beat that, Sandesh. I think it was a great analogy there. With that said, Uday, where can folks, our listeners, find out what's up with UserReady? Are you guys attending anything? Laying down the red carpet? Where can we find you next? Can they follow you on LinkedIn and all that good stuff?
well, our marketing team would love that, and we all would love that. The way we think about it is it's community, one of our core
Mhm.
values, right?
Mhm.
I would say two core values that are really important for us is continuous improvement and community. And
Mhm.
what we have started doing, of course, social media is important, and we are doing that already. We are actually taking to the roads almost, like we are organizing uh, series of events called Breakfast with Agents.
Okay.
It's actually a concept where you invite in a specific industry a set of leaders. We just did one last week in Princeton, New Jersey. We invited. It was an invite only, so we put the restriction on the attendees, and then we said breakfast at the West Inn in Princeton, and
Mhm.
then we had uh, overwhelming response with demand for one more soon.
Mhm.
50 plus attendees, senior directors and higher from pharma companies. 8 pharma companies sent their people. We you purely we educated. We did not sell. We don't sell. We tell. And
Mhm.
we that session was so powerful. And all of them came back and said, "Can you give us your template or a model for AI Accelerate? We want to educate our team members. We want
Mhm.
to learn how to build agents. We want to understand how this is done." So we have taken that model, Christina, where I think education is the way to win. I'll say our philosophy is very much originated in ancient Indian principles. Two things.
Mhm.
Um, we have a holy book called Bhagavad Gita, right? The fourth
Mhm.
chapter is called Jnana Yoga, and it's all about knowledge. And there, Krishna tells Arjuna that Jnanam Uttamam. Okay? So to me, that's what is awareness and education all about, right? AI
Mhm.
education, AI Accelerate, we have taken that. Second one is built on Indian temples. If you look at Indian temples centuries, they
Mhm.
actually just invited everybody, no restrictions, walk in, you're fed. You're given shelter, you can stay, you can live there literally, right? So it was just a giving attitude. There is nothing else. So we developed our university as that model where when we organize these events, we are just giving is one philosophy. Just keep giving. And that alone takes care of the rest. So those are the two principles that on which we built that education and awareness. So if you're following us, would love to collaborate. We also have partnered with schools. One of the key themes for us is we actually have a mission around children who are not so lucky, meaning they are disabled, uh, they are born for no fault of theirs, right? And we sponsor a program called Umang. It's in Jaipur. It's actually a school for autistic children, and they teach the children to make greeting cards, handmade, and we buy all of them and we distribute them as part of our giving away. So it's basically supporting the school for what they create, and then we become part of that community or ecosystem. See, it's sort of how we think about it.
That's so beautiful. And that is a beautiful contribution to the community and being able to tie it all together. Thank you so much for sharing with us the exciting things UserReady is doing. Sandesh, any last words?
No, I think this was. I'm happy to meet, interact, and I think it's very important to learn from others in terms of, the thought leader, what I call as thought leadership, right? See, we can all do works, right? But where do we bring the thought leadership? And I always give this example, right? A crow can solve a problem, but it cannot create a problem to solve.
There you
Right.
go.
And I'm really happy to connect with you, Uday, and talk to you today, and get your insight. Thought leadership. That's the key for me. And then we'll
Pleasure is
of course
mine.
offline connect and all that.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Christina and Sandesh, and pleasure meeting you all.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you. This has been such a valuable conversation. I've had so many great visuals from Lord of the Rings and the right swords to cat memes and just the email agents that I see every day. I really appreciate both of you for sharing your insights and your real world perspective. Now, this wraps up today's episode of the Data Reliability Experience. A big thank you to Uday Hegde and Sandesh for such an insightful conversation around autonomous AI agents, data trust, and what it takes to build reliable, future-ready data ecosystems. Today's discussion really highlights how innovation in AI only succeeds when it's built on strong foundations of trustworthy, well-governed data. Thank you so much for both of you for joining us today, and we'll catch you at the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey.
Have a good
Thank
one.
you.
Bye.
Yeah.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow the Data Reliability Experience and iceDQ on all your favorite podcast platforms and across social media for more conversations with leaders shaping the future of data and AI. If you're interested in joining us as a guest on future episodes, scan the QR code right around here and reach out to us using the contact information below. We'd love to hear from you. I'm your host, Christina Nguyen. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, stay curious, stay data driven, and keep reliability at the heart of your innovation.